Hello guys and welcome back to another episode of our EAFC 24 Summer Career Mode here with Crystal Palace. We're returning today off the back of being knocked out of the Carabao Cup in the quarter-final stage after our 1-0 loss to Everton at Goodison Park. But to be honest, I'm not going to be losing too much sleep. We made a lot of changes and we've got bigger fish to fry with more big games in the Premier League. We'll also have the FA Cup starting in today's episode where we'll host Portsmouth at home at Selhurst Park in the third round of the competition, and we'll stop just shy of our Champions League last 16 first leg clash against Juventus away at the Allianz Stadium, which will come in the next episode. But to kick off today, Leicester City at home taking on the Foxes, who we actually face twice in the space of 3 Premier League games, with Newcastle away at St James's Park sandwiched in between. Looking to continue our unbeaten start to the Premier League campaign. Come on, you Eagles. Yeah, we obviously suffered our first defeat of the season in all competitions in the previous game at the end of last episode, losing away at Goodison Park to Everton, but it was a much rotated side with it coming in the Carabao Cup, so I'm not too concerned, but need to make sure we get back to winning ways here in the Premier League and keep our very good start to the season going. Mateta has it for the Eagles. Mateta offloads to Mateus Cunha, looks to come in past Hamza Chowdhury, and what a strike by Mateus Cunha. Looks like he may have picked up a knock in the follow-through, maybe pulled a muscle or something. I hope that's not going to be too serious, but what a strike from Mateus Cunha, and what a run of form for the Brazilian too. Dewsbury Hall to the edge to Samuel Illing Jr. Winks back to Dewsbury Hall. Now Pavlovic through the gap. Big chance and Leicester equalise 10 minutes after the restart. And it's my boy George's Mikhail Tadzi with the finish. I always say it, when you're leading by just one, you're always vulnerable. Making some pretty attacking changes directly after that goal to try and give us an edge. Raksaki on at left wing back or left midfield. Daichi Kamada on in central midfield. Oh, unlucky Sule. And Eddie Nketiah on up top for Jean-Philippe Mateta, who's absolutely gassed. I think it's going to be all one-way pressure between now and the end of the game. Can we find a winner, or is it going to be another draw in the Premier League for Crystal Palace? Could it be even worse? That's nicely worked. Mikhail Tadzi on the spin. It's off the woodwork. And Milan will clear. Anywhere will do. And it's Leicester in the ascendancy at the moment, looking for that goal to turn the game on its head. Dewsbury Hall still alive, and they have got the goal. And it's Mikhail Tadzi again. Leicester City from behind lead at Selhurst Park. Free kick for Palace. Matthias Sule's over it. Dinked in, looking for Tamori, just couldn't quite get there. Gurhi will keep it alive, and Cunha's strike through the bodies forces the save by Mads Hermansen. Cunha comes across to take the corner, looking for Nketiah, and again it's Mads Hermansen with the save. Now Matthias Sule looks for Nketiah. It's a good ball. Eddie comes in field. Eddie, has he got the finish? Nketiah, yes he does. Rescues Crystal Palace once again, and we just will not sit down. Crystal Palace once again score a late goal in the Premier League to keep the unbeaten streak alive. Eddie does brilliantly, and it's going to be 2 points dropped again in the Premier League, but at least we've still not got a loss on the board, as Eddie Nketiah rescues us late on at Selhurst Park. Well, it wasn't quite the result we wanted, but we'll have to take the point from the position that we were in. That does mean it's just 2 wins in our last 6 games in the Premier League, so still yet to lose a game in the league, but lots of draws sneaking in, and that is inviting Man City and Arsenal and others back into the title race. Really tough fixture here as we take on Newcastle United at St James's Park. They sit just outside the Champions League places as it's really congested at the top of the table. Need to return to winning ways here, but expecting a really tough fixture. Come on, you Eagles. Yeah, the real worry for me recently is the number of goals that we've been conceding. We were so watertight at the beginning of the season, but now just seem to be leaking plenty of goals, and that means we're having to score plenty going the other way. Matthias Soulé looking to do that here, but denied early on by a fantastic stop by Nick Pope. Corners into Mateta, headed out only as far as Doucouré, who can hit them. Mateta will keep that alive as we recycle out to Kadioglu. Now Doucouré, lovely turn, and Doucouré strikes, and it's wide. Good early pressure from Crystal Palace, looking to find the early breakthrough. Cunha holds off Rabiot into Tyrick Mitchell. Nice first touch. And he finds Matthias Soulé. Oh, the smallest man on the pitch. Finds the bottom corner with the header. Nick Pope, as good of a shot stopper as he is, he's not the most sort of agile and cat-like, and Soulé diverts the header into the corner. It's a great first touch by Mitchell to take him past Trippier. Dinks it in, and Soulé has to generate all the power, which he does so, and fires it into that bottom corner. Fantastic header, and we lead at St James's. And Wharton picks up the loose ball. Now Matheus Cunha, we're getting quite a lot of joy down this left-hand side, and there's Mitchell again. Managed to stay onside, looks for Mateta, and this time Pope does get something on it. Gordon, that's a good ball into Parisi. Now the Brazilian Bruno Guimaraes. Lovely little fake shot past Doucouré, who has to be careful on a booking, and Isaac stinging the palms of Aaron Ramsdale. First time the Englishman's been tested today, and he was equal to it, and that's blocked, and Isaac, oh, that is so unlucky. And when it's not going your way, you really do feel like everything goes against you. Did a really good job, won the first header, got bodies in the way of the second effort, but Isak reacts quickest, and with Ramsdale on the floor, nothing he can do about it. And Newcastle back on level terms. Corner for Newcastle, both teams making some changes. Gordon has it and swings across in, dangerous, what a big save. And I think that is going to do it. Yet there is the whistle. It's another draw in the Premier League for Crystal Palace, and yes, draws are subjective. You know, we've got to look at this as a decent point on the road against a fellow side competing, you could say, for the title this season. Newcastle just a few points behind us, but the amount of draws we've had in the last 7 or 8 games is just way too many for my liking. And you continue dropping points and the best teams will close the gap, and that's exactly what Man City will do. Well, as we reach the official halfway stage, you can see the table here. Crystal Palace still unbeaten in their opening 19, but now 7 draws on the board has allowed Arsenal and Manchester City to close the gap. Newcastle and West Ham are not too far behind, and Spurs in 6th, just 5 points back. You can see some of the big sides, Liverpool, Man United, Chelsea, having really poor seasons, and currently the bottom 3 being Luton, Brentford and Southampton. But I think we are in for a really close title race this season. I'd love to come out victorious, but there is still a long way to go. Before we jump into our next game against Leicester at the King Power, we have got a couple of bits of admin to do. As we see, there are a couple of players who want a pro deal, so we'll try and loan these guys out in January. Kirk Malcolm being one of those. Oscar Zapata, young Colombian left back, being another. And I think the third was Samuel Miller. So we'll promote all of those guys. So we'll try and get those 3 loaned out. This is a look at the rest of the academy. Of course, we've taken a year off scouting this campaign, but still a lot of good talent in the youth setup. And as we also see Cheick Doucouré and Jean-Philippe Mateta, I completely forgot about this. at the end of the transfer window, both of them with their contracts up in 6 months' time. I said I was going to offer them both contracts when we were out of the transfer window, and I completely forgot about it. So Cheick Doucouré and Jean-Philippe Mateta, you'll be seeing on screen now, getting new contract extensions and wage increases as well. Well, with Doucouré and Mateta's contracts sorted, we'll jump into our next game at the King Power here as we receive a big offer for Mateta from VfL Wolfsburg. But of course, they knocked out of our Champions League group. I'm not going to sell Mateta when we're halfway through the season in a title race to a side not even making it through to the knockout stages of the competition. So yeah, jumping into our next one is Leicester away at the King Power, looking once again to return to winning ways in the Premier League. Come on, you Eagles. Second half underway here at the King Power. Been a really poor 45 minutes, and again we've just not really got started. We just really desperately need that win on the board, because I think once it comes, the confidence comes back, and hopefully we can go on a bit of a streak. But 5 draws in our last 7 in the Premier League, ridiculous stat. And at the moment, we've just lost that winning touch. Dewsbury Hall into Chowdhury again. And now Winks again on the turn. Nice from Harry Winks. Oh, and we can't get there, and Ramsdale makes the stop, and, well, it's not cleared. And Mikhail Tadze! I just cannot stop this guy scoring, man. The Georgian, once again, it's his 3rd in 2 games against me. And once again, Crystal Palace on the verge of defeat. It's been coming as well. Well, Leicester have the ball right where they want it. And that is going to do it, as Crystal Palace are going to run out of time. Damsgaard into Mikhail Tadze. And it's a second. And Leicester City have the dagger. Crystal Palace taste defeat for the first time in the Premier League. And for back-to-back seasons, it comes at the King Power against Leicester City. Mikhail Tadze with both goals towards the latter stages. And Crystal Palace really needs something to change here, as we are on a torrid run of form. Well, as Crystal Palace fall off top spot, as Arsenal leapfrog us and jump into first place. Perfect timing as the FA Cup rolls around, and we will take on EFL side Portsmouth at home. When you're going through it, sometimes you need a gimme just to get a scratch and get back on the board. So a strong lineup for this one today. Crystal Palace in desperate need of a victory. Come on, you Eagles. Yeah, Crystal Palace really going through it at the moment. And we discussed, I think it was in the last episode, about how every team, even the very best, go through tricky stages throughout the course of a season, and Crystal Palace most certainly going through that now. It's a nice build-up from us, and Whittaker, there's the opening goal. And this is exactly the game that we needed. This has come at the perfect time for Crystal Palace, taking on lower league opposition at home. We've got a strong lineup out there, should be a comfortable win, and a return to winning ways. Tamori, good defending. Gone for him in the back line today just to shore us up a bit. And Whittaker, this has to be 2. Haji Wright bends it in. And Crystal Palace do have their second. Lovely goal on the break. Tamori did really well. And in an instance, we're in on the goalkeeper. And Haji Wright has the finish. Extends our lead to 2, and that will surely do it. Crystal Palace back to winning ways. Well, there is the whistle, and Crystal Palace do hold on for the victory. Pretty comfortable in the end, but the Palace fans going absolutely mad at the sight of a victory. It does come in the FA Cup, still yet to return to winning ways in the Premier League. But hopefully, now that we've got a win on the board, we can build on this and return to winning ways in the Premier League. Well, as we see confirmation of the 3 youngsters that we promoted at the beginning of the episode going out on loan, we also see Jorginho going down with a broken toe injury. I missed that right at the end of that win in the FA Cup, but Jorginho down for 3 months with a broken toe. That will be a big miss for us between now and the end of the season. But jumping into our next game, great opportunity to get back to winning ways in the Premier League as we take on Rob Edwards Luton Town, currently sat in the bottom 3 in the Premier League and struggling 4 points down at the bottom of the table. Perfect game for us as we're desperate to return to winning ways in the Premier League and build on the win in the FA Cup. Come on, you Eagles. Yeah, we only just beat Luton in the previous episode. It was a terrible game and we won it through a really poor deflected strike from Matthias Soulé. As Mateta's denied. And that just sort of goes to show the form we're in at the moment. Doucouré, that's all you, my boy. Well done. Chit Doucouré finds Matthias Soulé. Mateta looks back for Matthias Soulé. Lovely build-up. And Soulé, brilliant. Oh, Matthias Soulé. Once again against Luton. A pretty similar goal to the one he scored at Kenilworth Road. This time without the deflection. Gets away from the defender. Cuts back onto his left foot. And this time his strike finds that far bottom corner. Matthias Soulé with another brilliant goal cutting in off that right-hand side. And Crystal Palace have the lead that we've been after. Now we need to find a second and ensure we secure this victory. Mateta gets there. Mateta, how he needs a goal. Mateta! Fantastic finish. And Crystal Palace do double their lead. There's the second. Mateta, for the first time in what feels like an absolute age, gets on the score sheet in the Premier League. Gifted to him by marvellous Nakambri. Still had a lot of work to do. And the finish is crisp past the former Man United man Bayinda into the top corner. And surely now that is enough for Palace to return to winning ways. Well, there is the full-time whistle here at Selhurst. A much needed win in the Premier League. And our first in a long while. That was more like the Crystal Palace of old. 2-0 scoreline, which was our favourite last season. We won so many games by 2-0. A clean sheet for Aaron Ramsdale. And as I say, another win on the board in the Premier League as we return to winning ways. I believe before our next one as well, we should now find out who it is we will face in the FA Cup. Let's go and find out together. Well, a quick look at the Premier League table with Arsenal being held to a draw with Leicester. We now draw level on points with them. We've also got the same goal difference as well, and it is so tight between the top 5 or 6 in the Premier League. But let's find out who it is we will face in the FA Cup 4th round, hoping for another EFL side. And it will be Hull City. So it is an EFL side, the Championship side, the Tigers, away at the KCOM or whatever it's called now. And that's exactly what we were after in the draw. Another lucky draw as we'll take on an EFL side as Man City take on Chelsea at the Etihad. And I think that game against Hull will come next. But before we get there, a couple of huge bids coming in here as we see Zaha returning from his injury. Firstly, Man City coming in for Matthias Soulé. Well, we know how good he's been for us, but of course they've got Michael Elise that they signed from us and Eze. And with this being our last season with FC 25 around the corner, I'm not selling anyone. Matthias Soulé having a fantastic campaign, especially not in January. I'm not looking to sell. And for Jean-Philippe Mateta, huge bid from the Parisians, his home nation, PSG. But again, I'm rejecting that. Mateta is staying put and we're not letting him go anywhere. Remo Freuler has been approached by FC Lorient. With this being our last season of the save, I'm happy to let him go. I could just offer him a new contract and keep him here, but I will let him go. I think with him being now 33 years of age, coming to the end of his career, we'll let him head to France for the final years of his career. Well, as we've made it to transfer deadline day with just 4 million left in the budget, I don't see us making any moves whatsoever. So we'll jump into our next game. It is the FA Cup 4th round away at the MKM Stadium, as it's now known, to take on the Tigers Hull City in the 4th round of the FA Cup. Made a few more changes than we saw in the previous round against Portsmouth as we do travel to Manchester City in midweek. So eyes firmly fixed on that trip to Manchester. Looking for an easy passage through to the 5th round of the FA Cup. Come on, you Eagles. Just approaching the 25-minute mark here, and still tied at 0-0. But I obviously called the stadium the KCOM in the intro, and I was just thinking it's funny how, like, for some certain people and of a certain age, so for me, there are lots of grounds that when I was growing up were known as something different to what they are now, and that's just what they've kind of continued to be known as. So one that sort of sticks out for me is the Liberty Stadium at Swansea, of course, and I think it's been renamed the Swansea.com Stadium now. But to me, it's always going to be known as the Liberty. There are a few others, loads of others, in fact, that are just known as certain grounds because of my era and when I was growing up. But it made me laugh thinking about that loading into the game. But perfect start here at the KCOM as Remo Freuler, one of the fan favourites, fires us into a lead as we look to progress to the 5th round of the FA Cup. Yeah, we've been extremely comfortable in these opening 56 minutes here, and I've made a lot of changes with Man City to come in midweek, so it's no surprise that the game's been pretty dull up until now, as Hadji Wright fires in the second right on cue, and on the hour mark that should be enough to send Crystal Palace through. As I say, lots of changes with Wednesday night in mind away at the Etihad. Well, there is the whistle, and it turns out to be a pretty comfortable win for Crystal Palace. And after a poor run of form, this is exactly what we needed. Really struggling in the league, and two sort of gimmies in the FA Cup against lower league opposition. Both wins by the same scoreline, 2-0. And Crystal Palace heading through to the 5th round of the FA Cup. Well, as we get back into the menus, it's transfer deadline day, but with less than 4 million in the budget, I think I'm going to skip over this very quickly. We're not going to be bringing anyone in. I'm definitely not looking to sell anyone, so all bids are going to be rejected. So we'll skip through pretty quickly and head to that clash against Manchester City at the Etihad. So as we see the top deals on deadline day, Diogo Costa going to Chelsea for 86.9 million as they bring in a new number one. Ismail Benacer heading to Real Madrid for just shy of 60 million, and Odilon Kasunu swapping Bayer Leverkusen for Borussia Dortmund. But we'll sim through the final hour of the window, heading into our next clash against Manchester City. 2nd v 3rd. This is a big game, even with 17 games to play in the Premier League. We just suffered our first defeat of the season away at the King Power, but 3 2-0 victories in a row have put us back on track. But it's a really tough game here away against the champions. Come on, you Eagles. Well, we're half an hour in here, and it's been very tight and cagey as you'd expect. We've done a good job of containing Man City in the early stages. No real chances for either side, but I do feel like if you can play quick against Man City, you can get in at their backline as Matthias Soulé tests Ederson, who makes the first save of the game. Still alive for Crystal Palace as we look to just keep the ball moving. Mateta, Soulé, look at Wharton at the back post. Adam Wharton on the weaker right foot. He doesn't get many, the Englishman. In fact, I think in the course of the save, it's probably only his 2nd or 3rd goal, but what a time to get it. Just goes into the area, nobody goes with him. Crisp finish past Ederson, and Palace lead just before the break at the Etihad. At the halfway stage, Crystal Palace leading by 1-0. This could be a huge moment in the title race. Yes, there is still a long way to go. We're only just over the halfway stage, but in terms of momentum and getting one over on one of your rivals, this will be a huge result for Crystal Palace if we can hold on. There is still a hell of a long way to go in the title race and today, but so far Palace in a fantastic position across the box looking for Kadioglu, and Man City survive, and we've caused them a fair few issues. Man City corner here, Rodri out to take it with Foden in support, but there's Tyrick Mitchell. Oh, and a naughty tackle by Rodri that. goes into the book, and the frustration starting to show from the Manchester City players. They know this is a big game, and Crystal Palace are worthy of their lead at the moment. They're so deadly when they work it into the penalty area. Rodri dispossessed though, and there may well be chances on the break as Lerma sends it forward to Nketiah. And Eddie racing away as he got the finish. Nketiah off the post. Soulé. Oh, he can't quite turn it in. And forward it goes, and that's going to do it. Crystal Palace hold on for a massive, massive victory in the Premier League. Away at the champions. And that will extend the gap that we already had on them before the game kicked off. And we know we are well and truly in a title race this season. Manchester City are by no means out of it. Still a long, long way to go. And you know they always put on a good run of form towards the end of the season. But that is a huge, huge victory for the Eagles away in Manchester. Well, looking at the table here, as Arsenal and Man City faced each other and played out a 1-1 draw, we've got a 4-point lead over City with a game in hand and a point behind Arsenal, but a victory here at home to Thomas Frank's Brentford side, who currently sit in the relegation zone, will see us leapfrog Arsenal and return to top spot with 15 games to play. Great opportunity to extend our winning streak of 4. Come on, you Eagles. It's also 4 clean sheets in a row for the Eagles as well, not just 4 wins. Yes, got to remember that 2 of those have come in the FA Cup against lower league opposition, but it's all about just building that momentum at this stage of the season, keeping the wins flowing, and that's exactly what we're looking to do here against the Brentford side, struggling down at the bottom of the table as Soulé forces the early save out of Juve. We just need that first goal just to give us the lead, and I think if we get it, then it's unlikely Brentford will be able to fight back. Oh, that's poor though. That's really poor. And Mateta with the strength and the dummy, and Juve with another huge save. Just cannot find a way past him at the moment. Soulé with the corner into Lacroix. He's not saving that one. Second goal of the season for the former Wolfsburg man. And all our pressure in this first half has finally been rewarded with the breakthrough. And it comes from the giant central defender. Second half underway then. Absolute bullet header from Max Lacroix. And it's been all Palace pressure, as you would have seen in that first half. It was just about finding that breakthrough. Brentford haven't really caused us any issues. Now that we've got that breakthrough, it's just about going and finding a second to give us that advantage as Kadioglu, well, it got a nick off someone. That 2-goal advantage will surely be enough, with the fact that Brentford are struggling down at the bottom of the table and how good we've been in this little run of form. I really don't see them getting back into it if and when we find that second. Nouri looking for Cunha. It's a fantastic pass. I see you, Mateta, and it's a goal. There is the second. Mateta pokes it into the corner. Joint top scorer in the Premier League with Heung-min Son. Well, he's just scored to go one above him. Mateta looking for that golden boot. It's a clever little finish. And Crystal Palace do have their second goal. And that should now be enough to see out the 3 points. And a 5th victory in a row for the Eagles. Well, that win does return Crystal Palace to the top of the Premier League. 2 points clear of Arsenal, 7 now clear of Man City with 15 to play. We'll close out the episode here with Manchester United away at Old Trafford. They're having a pretty poor season, sat down in 9th place in the Premier League. So a great opportunity here to extend our winning run to 6 at the end of the episode, before that huge clash in the Champions League last 16 away in Turin against Juventus to come at the beginning of the next episode. Big clash here away at Old Trafford. Come on, you Eagles. Lerma able to bring it forward. Looks for Cunha over the top. I see Mateta at the back stick. We've picked him out brilliantly. Mateta, good save by Onana. Just approaching the half-hour mark here. Still no real chances for either side, but that's a brilliantly timed ball to Matthias Soulé. Got the United defenders backtracking, and Mateta's there, and he should really have found the net. Kept out by Onana, and now Sule again. Keeps it moving to Wharton, looking to bend one. And Onana tips it over the top. And Sancho absolutely taken out there, but United playing on. Rafa Guerreiro down the left, steps in past Tomori. There's Højlund on the spin, great save. Oh, what a brilliant double save by Aaron Ramsdale. The second one, just pure reactions to deny Højlund as Pacho goes into the book for the foul. Oh, given away straight to McTominay by Adam Wharton. Scrambling to recover the ball here. Danger, strike comes in, Ramsdale gets gloves on it. 15 to play. Still we remain deadlocked at 0-0 as we look for the breakthrough. Fernandes, probably the last chance here, is Tomori with a fantastic tackle. Raksaki into Nketiah. Holds it up really well, Nketiah. Still going, Eddie. Still going. Lerma. Milan. Whittaker. And Daichi from the edge forces the save out of Onana. Last moment of the game here as Lerma will come across to take the corner. Floated into the middle. And Nketiah again denied. And that's going to do it. Onana with a couple of big saves at the end. And it was really a tale of two keepers. Ramsdale and Onana, both of them making some important stops to keep their team in the game, and it does end goalless. We've seen quite a few 0-0 draws. I think that's our 4th of the season. I probably would have taken the point pre-game, so I can't really turn my nose up at it, but it does give Arsenal and Manchester City to close the gap at the top of the Premier League to close out today's episode. Well, with Arsenal being held away at the City ground to a 1-1 draw, we do remain top of the table by 2 points. But Man City winning at Villa Park means it's they who start to emerge through the crowd. And we are in for a real title race this season. West Ham and Newcastle not far behind. But I do think it will be us three that start to pull away in the latter stages. We've also got our eyes fixed on the Champions League last 16, where we will travel to Turin to take on Juventus at the beginning of next episode. Lots of big games to come as we're heading towards the climax of the season, where Crystal Palace still competing for a treble. Lots and lots of big games to come. You won't want to miss them, and I'll catch you for the next episode very soon. Peace.